Hey, it's Nate Savage here, and one of the most important areas of playing the guitar can also be one of the biggest trouble spots, and a lot of guitar players aren't even aware of this. We all know that we should be working on things like chords, chord transitions, strumming, and scales. Those are obvious, but timing can be more elusive. A lot of guitar players don't even know how to go about getting better with their timing. And trust me, there's nothing worse than showing up to a gig or rehearsal and being the only one rushing or dragging. It can be embarrassing. It can be even worse if you don't realize it's happening. I know guitarists in particular struggle with this because I hear it all the time, and I've been there myself. Now, as far as other musicians go, a lot of times they expect us to already have this together, so they either can't be bothered to tell us, or they may not have the heart to tell us that, our timing needs work. So that leaves it up to us to recognize that, hey, I need to work on this. So in this lesson, I'm going to give you 4 pointers to help you recognize that and then improve your timing as well. This is going to give you a really sharp edge to your playing, but it is an edge that needs to be maintained to keep it sharp. You may be thinking to yourself, Nate, I don't need to work on my timing. My timing is already good. And if that's the case, that's great. But a lot of us simply aren't aware if we're rushing, dragging, or just being inconsistent with our timing. So the number 1 tip that I have for you to get started before you do anything else is to record yourself and listen back to it critically to see if you need some improvement. Grab your phone or your camera, set it up, play along to a song or a metronome. It can be strumming, picking single notes, finger picking, whatever you're into. Record it, give it a listen back, and see if your timing can use some improvement. The second tip I have for you as far as developing your timing goes is to forget about your guitar for a minute and work on tapping rhythms along to a metronome or a drum machine. I have my phone here set to 70 beats per minute, and I'm just going to try to tap along to that using quarter notes, or every time you hear the click. And when you do this, when you kind of put your guitar aside, what's going to happen is you don't have to think about all the technical aspects of playing. All you have to do is concentrate on staying in time. So here's 70 beats per minute. So all you're going to do is tap to that click, every click, and try to stay on beat. Really lock into the time, feel it. Try to be aware if you're rushing or dragging. This is going to give you a good idea of kind of your natural tendency, whether you're a dragger or a rusher. So just tapping along to a steady beat like that is a really good first step to kind of see where you are as far as your timing goes, whether you're rushing or dragging. Another point that I want to bring up here is it's very important to keep some other part of your body moving as you're playing, whether you're nodding your head to the beat, whether you're tapping your foot to the beat. It's a really good habit to get into, so I'm going to put that back on real quick. And tap your foot with that, and then tap with your hand too. What happens when you do this, you're really getting into the beat and you're kind of internalizing it and just kind of locking into that groove. It's important to start working on keeping some other body part, your head or your foot, going as you work on these tapping exercises. That way, it'll already be a habit when you start working on your timing with your actual playing. So take a couple days or a couple of weeks and work on various tempos, just tapping along, and make sure you keep your head or your foot going with it. Tip number 3 is a powerful way to help yourself stay in time, whether you're working on fast or slow tempos, and it's called subdividing the beat. And if you don't know what that is, I'll give you a quick example. Let's say you're playing along to a metronome at 60 beats per minute. That's pretty slow. There's a lot of time in between each beat, right? Now, the farther notes are apart like this, or the slower the tempo, the harder it's going to be to stay in time. So subdividing the tempo is a way to help yourself stay on track. Now, those clicks you're hearing there are usually quarter notes. An easy way to kind of help yourself stay in time is to use eighth notes, or instead of having 1 click per beat, you have 2 clicks. Let me give you an example here with my metronome. It's still set to 60 beats per minute, and here are just quarter notes. Lots of space in between them, right? Now what I'm going to do is switch to 2 clicks per beat, so you're going to be hearing eighth notes. That is a lot easier to stay on track, even if I'm tapping quarter notes. It's way easier to stay on beat. And that's one skill that you need to develop, is the ability to hear subdivisions in your head. Quarter notes, eighth notes. It's going to help you stay in time and keep track of where you are a lot easier. So let's take this example one step further. I'm putting my metronome back on. Now, if I had just quarter notes going here, it'd be a lot harder to play. And I want you to grab a guitar if you have it and just try to strum quarter notes to that. I have to concentrate a lot more, especially when I'm talking, right? I have a lot bigger chance of making a mistake with my timing. So if I put it up to eighth notes and still play quarter notes, it's a lot easier. So you need to develop the skill of hearing note subdivisions in your head. It's going to help you stay on time. Even if you have a drummer that's just playing quarter notes, if you hear eighth notes in your head, it's going to help keep you on track. It's going to make playing in time a lot easier. And you can take this one step further if you want. You can go 16th notes or 4 clicks per beat. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a... Still playing quarter notes. So if you have a metronome, put it on 60 or 70 beats per minute and try it with just the click on quarter notes, right? Notice if you're rushing or dragging, or just being really kind of inconsistent with your timing, and then put it on eighth notes if you have that function, and see if it helps you stay in time. You're going to want to practice with a metronome like this, that way you get used to hearing that subdivision in your head as you play. Once you're aware of your timing, you've worked on some tapping and keeping your head going or your foot going, and you've learned how to subdivide the beat in your head, the next step is to take your guitar and actually work on your timing, whether it's strumming, fingerstyle guitar, or single note lead stuff. And to help you with this, I have a really simple exercise that if you use this on a regular basis, it will expose weak areas in your timing and it will help you correct those too. The idea behind this exercise is to put a metronome or a drum machine on it, 60 or 70 beats per minute. We're going to be using 70 beats per minute for this example. And then just play quarter notes to that click. Once you're comfortable there, you're locked in, not rushing, not dragging, switch to eighth notes. Once you're comfortable there, not rushing or dragging, locked in with the beat, switch to 16th notes. And try to make the transitions between quarter notes, eighth notes, or 16th notes as smooth as possible. And you're going to notice immediately if there's a blip between the subdivisions if you start rushing or dragging. Let's give this a try. So here's 70 beats per minute. Those are quarter notes, so just start out one strum or one pick for each click. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you feel locked in there and you're comfortable with that, move things up to eighth notes. Now I'm going to leave the metronome on quarter notes, but you need to be able to subdivide that in your head. Think about that. Think about the eighth notes. Back to quarters. Swap back and forth between those two note values. Try that and take note. When you switch from quarter notes to eighth notes, do you speed up? Do you slow down? What's your natural tendency? And be aware of that and just work on that transition. Now you can take this to the next level and go 16th notes too. So start out on quarters, then eighths, and 16ths as well. All right, here's 70 beats per minute again. Start out with quarters. Maybe move to eighths. Back to eighths. Quarters. Keeping that subdivision of eighth notes or 16th notes going in your head is going to be a really critical part of getting good at this, and you're going to have that internal kind of clock going to be on time throughout an exercise like this. Now, if you're a more advanced player and you want to make this a little bit more challenging, I'd suggest throwing some eighth note triplets or 3 evenly spaced strums or picks for each click. This exercise may be pretty difficult for you at first, but it is great for exposing weaknesses with your timing and fixing those weaknesses. So if you've been struggling with your timing or you just think it could get better, I'd encourage you to use this exercise and all the tips we've gone over here for 3 to 5 minutes every day at the beginning of your practice session for a few weeks, and you will see great results with your timing. That's it for this video. If you found this lesson helpful, I'd encourage you to check out the free guitar toolbox. It's my collection of over 50 step-by-step lessons that address a lot of really common problem areas for a lot of guitar players. It addresses those areas through fun jam tracks and practical musical applications. You can find out more about that at guitarlessons.com/toolbox. I'll see you later.